Welcome to our channel. Actually, my father got us started singing because he was disgusted with the group he was singing with. He was in an all-male group. One performance I'll never forget. I guess it was the Royal Command performance my first time. Time has carried everything forward. Not just beauty, but fame, too. There were once faces that made the whole world turn their heads. They dominated MTV, exuding sensuality. But now, if they passed you on the street, you might not recognize them. They were R&B goddesses, but today they're just faint names in the memories of fans. Let's take a look back at the life stories of 35 black female R&B singers who were once stunningly beautiful, setting stages ablaze with their voices and looks to understand why. If you pass them by today, you might not realize it's them. Are they still holding on to their passion and love for music, or have they found new paths of their own? Drop the number 1 in the comments if you want to join us on a journey to explore the emotional stories of these 35 R&B goddesses, from the dazzling spotlight to the hidden corners few know about, to gain a deeper understanding of the real lives behind the glamour. Mavis Staples, a living legend, overcame the hardships of racial discrimination, but had to face unfulfilled love and deep loneliness. She is an irreplaceable icon of R&B and gospel, known as the lead vocalist of the Staples Singers. Mavis is also a living symbol of the civil rights movement. Hits like "I'll Take You There" and "Respect Yourself" shook America to its core. But behind that powerful voice lies a life marked by pain and heartbreak. In 1963 in Birmingham, a city haunted by police brutality against black people, Mavis, not yet 20 years old, and her family, the Staples Singers, were arrested simply for asking to buy gas like white people. They were imprisoned, insulted, and threatened with death just because they were black. That chilling moment transformed Mavis from a singer into a musical warrior fighting to survive. But the cost was immense. Every tour through the South became a life-or-death battle, never knowing when they might face violence from a hateful crowd. Around that same time, a strange and tender romance blossomed between Mavis and Bob Dylan, two young artistic souls caught in the midst of political and creative turmoil. They came close to getting married, but a bitter rejection from Mavis's father, Pop Staples, forced her to choose family and the safer path, letting love slip away. After that, she never married, had no children, and was accompanied only by a lingering loneliness throughout her adult life. Then fate continued to strike with cruel blows. From 2000 to 2021, Mavis lost her father and then her 3 siblings, the only people who had always stood by her on stage and in life. Each loss left a wound in her heart. Now, in the twilight of her years, Mavis Staples still takes to the stage, still alone. With music as her only remaining companion, she once said, "I keep singing, but now I sing for the souls who are gone." Dionne Warwick, from legendary heights to the abyss of bankruptcy and legal troubles. Dionne Warwick, with her sweet golden voice that dominated the charts with hits like "I Say a Little Prayer," is not only an R&B icon but also a name synonymous with an entire era of American music. With over 100 million records sold, she is one of the most successful female artists of the 20th century, standing shoulder to shoulder with Aretha Franklin and Whitney Houston. A relentless chain of tragedies. The seemingly perfect marriage with William Elliott turned into a prolonged battle. They married in 1966, divorced in 1967, reconciled, and then divorced again in 1975. Disputes, conflicts over money, and parenting differences turned their home into a battlefield. Dion overcame it all, raising 2 children alone, singing night after night to survive and soothe the pain of a broken family. But that wasn't the only shock in her life. In 2002, she was arrested after 11 marijuana cigarettes were found in her luggage at Miami airport. A lipstick became damning evidence, tarnishing her elegant image in the media, though the charges were later reduced. This scandal was a heavy blow to her already fragile reputation. Later, she faced an irreplaceable loss. Her brother Manel died in a car accident in 1968 while Dion was on tour. This sudden death plunged her into depression, straining her relationship with her sister Dion and leaving her feeling more isolated. In 2013, Dionne Warwick shocked the world again by filing for bankruptcy in New Jersey. At over 70 years old, she declared she couldn't pay off a $10 million debt as her financial troubles began in the 90s, when she entrusted her finances to trusted advisors, resulting in over $7 million in unpaid taxes to California and the federal government, plus penalties and interest, forcing a star who once stood at the pinnacle to count every penny and perform well into her 70s just to survive. While financial shocks, legal troubles, and personal losses pushed Dion into the darkest corner of her life, where fame was merely a memory. Candi Staton, an R&B icon, endured abuse from her husband, battled alcoholism, and raised 5 children through tears. With a powerful voice behind soulful hits, Candi Staton is a true warrior. She sang soul gospel and later disco, earning multiple Grammy nominations. But her life wasn't just glamour. It was a series of haunting pains behind the stage lights. In 1970, when she married renowned singer Clarence Carter, Candi thought she had stepped into a dream. But just months later, the curtain fell. Clarence was not only her partner, but also a nightmare. He frequently abused her. In 1972, after a heated argument, he threw her to the floor in Atlanta and beat her relentlessly, forcing her to hide the bruises with thick makeup to perform. In 1973, she fled with her children, ending a painful marriage. But the nightmare didn't stop. A year later, she married Jimmy James, her 4th husband, hoping for salvation, but he became another nightmare. Jimmy, though not famous, was jealous and cruel. In 1976, after a performance, he beat her with a belt, forcing her to flee their home in the middle of the night with just a few clothes and tears. To escape the pain, Candi turned to alcohol. Throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, she drank daily, even performing while intoxicated. In 1982, she woke up, not knowing where she was, with her crying children beside her. Her body was exhausted. She lost weight rapidly, and her voice nearly vanished. In 1983, she turned to faith and began a grueling recovery process, though she faced relapses, ultimately triumphing and returning to gospel. Amid all the chaos, Candi remained a mother to 5 children. After leaving Clarence, she raised his 4 children and their son, Clarence Jr., alone, often relying on her grandmother for help. In 1975, her eldest daughter asked why she never came home, a question that broke her heart. Sometimes she didn't have enough money for food, scraping by with small gigs and help from others. Under immense pressure, alone without support, she nearly collapsed. Yet Candi Staton never gave up. Even when the world turned its back, she took the stage singing with a voice scarred by abuse and alcohol, conveying love, freedom, and pain. Darlene Love, from R&B star to hotel cleaner. Darlene Love, the golden voice of soul and R&B, set the 1960s ablaze with He's a Rebel and Christmas Baby Please Come Home. But behind the stage lights lay a string of tragedies. Her talent was exploited, her fame stolen, her personal life in chaos, and her career nearly erased. In 1962, at the peak of her career, Darlene Love was ruthlessly manipulated by producer Phil Spector. She recorded hits for him, but when they soared, her name vanished, replaced by the Crystals. No credit, no payment. Everything was hidden behind a fake smile. Spector controlled it all, threatening to ruin her career if she spoke out. She endured years of silence filled with rage. In 1993, Darlene Love reached her breaking point and sued Phil Spector for justice. Though she partially won the lawsuit in 1997, the psychological scars lingered. By the late 1970s, Darlene had nearly vanished from the music industry. No gigs, no contracts, no money. In the early 1980s, she worked as a hotel cleaner in Los Angeles. In 1982, she heard her own song playing while scrubbing a bathroom. The moment felt like a slap in the face, from grand stages to mops and buckets. She wept sorrow welling up inside, but not for long she didn't crumble. In 1986, a Broadway show brought her back to the stage. Her personal life was no less turbulent. Her marriage to Wesley Hodges was stormy, filled with arguments, financial strained children, and mounting pressure. Her father, her rock, passed away in the early 1970s, plunging Darlene into depression, grappling with grief and responsibility. Even now, her life remains steeped in pain. Martha Reeves, Motown icon who endured years of collapse. Martha Reeves, the brilliant lead singer of Martha and the Vandellas, brought soul to life with hits like Dancing in the Street, becoming a Motown legend. She etched her name into American music history, but her life was far from as glamorous as it seemed. In the 1960s, at her peak, Martha faced a grueling schedule, performing over 300 shows in some years. Endless performances, autographs, and stage smiles masked her inner collapse. Exhausted, she was swept up in industry pressures and racial confrontations in the South. Her mental health plummeted. By 1972, when the group disbanded, she hit rock bottom. No stage lights, no Motown support, she felt cast out of the industry. Sleepless nights and anxiety pushed her to the brink, even contemplating death as an escape. Therapy and faith became her fragile lifelines. In 1961, her marriage quickly unraveled amid relentless arguments. Her husband couldn't handle her fame, spiraling into jealous rages. After the divorce, she became a single mother, often away from her children for work, carrying deep guilt. In the 1970s, she tried again with another husband, but it didn't last. 2 failed marriages left her children in the care of relatives. Her life slipped out of control. After leaving Motown, she faded into obscurity in mainstream music. In 1983, she nearly lost her Detroit home, unable to pay the mortgage, forcing her to beg friends for help, a far cry from her days as a celebrated star. Reduced to small fares and remote venues to survive, she scraped by. Though she later recovered somewhat, the instability, fear of poverty, and sense of abandonment haunted her forever. Heartache, loss, and tear-filled sleepless nights defined much of her personal journey. Gladys Knight, the legend of soul and R&B, conquered the world with her powerful emotive voice, leading Gladys Knight and the Pips. She delivered timeless hits and earned numerous prestigious awards, but behind the stage she stumbled through painful falls. At the height of her success in the 1970s, Gladys spiraled into a dark abyss fueled by gambling addiction. Casual card games in Las Vegas turned into an obsession, costing her tens of thousands of dollars in a single night. In 1983, a fateful game wiped out her savings. Financial strain battered her self-esteem, and she withdrew, avoiding family out of shame. She vanished for days, burying herself in casinos, leaving her children crying for their mother. It wasn't until 1989, after recovery and rediscovering her faith, that she broke free. But the scars remained. Gambling addiction wasn't the whole story. Her marriages were battles, too. Married at 16, her first husband was an addict who abandoned her and their children. Her second husband, who seemed to promise stability, led to endless arguments. In 1978, he left after a massive fight, leaving her in anguish. 3 children, 3 births, but no man stayed. The series of failed marriages nearly destroyed her belief in love, and music became the only place where she found refuge. Then the biggest shock came in 1999. Her eldest son, Jimmy, passed away from heart failure after years of drug addiction. Gladys blamed herself, struggling with insomnia, crying quietly at night, haunted and unable to recover. Her brother, a lifelong companion, passed away in 2023. The series of losses left her stunned. Her daughter's business collapsed, followed by lawsuits. Family relationships became strained once a queen who seemed invincible. Gladys is now a woman grinding her teeth, enduring the overwhelming loneliness. Patti LaBelle. The glory of the stage, and a series of family tragedies. Heartbreak and illness drove the legendary diva to despair. Patti LaBelle, the iconic voice behind Lady Marmalade, is one of the greatest legends of R&B and soul, known for her powerful voice, captivating style, and a career spanning over half a century. She has been honored as the diva of all divas, but her heart bears hidden wounds few know about. Patti once believed that marriage would be her refuge, but her seemingly stable marriage to Armstead Edwards became an emotional burden that lasted for decades. They married in 1969, becoming the perfect couple of diva and manager. But by the 90s, everything began to fall apart. Armstead's jealousy of Patti's spotlight led to endless arguments, silent suffering, and emotional distance between them. After 32 years, Patti decided to end the marriage in 2000, a painful decision that left her filled with regret, having to raise their children on her own while continuing to tour as if everything were fine. But love was not the greatest pain she endured. Over the course of 14 years, Patti lost 3 of her sisters to cancer. First Vivian Barbara, then Jacqueline. Each loss was a knife to her heart. Patti took care of her youngest sister in her final days, watching her slowly deteriorate. There was nothing she could do but cry quietly. The consecutive deaths were like a harsh slap in the face. Patti lived in fear. Was she next? Was there a tumor lurking in her own body? In 1995, Patti was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. The nightmare began a year earlier when she collapsed on stage due to low blood sugar. After that shock, she changed her life, banning her favorite cakes, enduring daily injections, and facing constant anxiety. She feared losing her voice, being unable to hit the high notes, or that the stage lights would dim before she had the chance to say goodbye. These fears still haunt her to this day. Diana Ross, the queen of the stage with family tragedies and love scandals. Diana Ross, the timeless icon of R&B and soul, was the heart of the greatest Motown girl group The Supremes, with countless hits and a stellar solo career. She is a living legend of American music, but her life has been a labyrinth of conflict, suffering, and scandal. In the 1960s, Diana was the soul of The Supremes, but also the spark that ignited fierce internal battles within the group. Florence Ballard, a founding member and close friend, was kicked out of the group in 1967, not because of a lack of talent, but due to intense clashes with Diana and Motown's boss Berry Gordy. Florence felt sidelined as Diana received preferential treatment. After leaving the group, Florence fell into poverty and died of liver failure in 1976. Diana was shocked and carried the burden of guilt for decades. Her relationship with her sister Barbara Martin also fractured due to musical disputes, leaving Diana increasingly guarded, isolated, and under constant pressure. Marriage, which should have been a peaceful refuge, turned into another hell for Diana. She married Robert Ellis Silverstein in 1971, but the marriage quickly fell apart. The rumor that her eldest daughter, Rhonda, was the child of Berry Gordy, not Robert, shocked the family. They divorced in 1977. Her second marriage to Norwegian mogul Arne Næss Jr. in 1985 ended in 2000 after 15 years, when Arne had a child with another woman, while Diana was left to raise their 5 children alone in the U.S. The divorce shattered her, destroying her faith in love. At the end of 1999, another storm hit. Diana was arrested in Arizona for driving under the influence. Her blood alcohol content exceeded the legal limit. The image of the elegant diva shattered overnight. The harsh backlash forced her to accept probation and undergo rehab. It was a painful downfall, exposing the cracks behind the flawless exterior of a legend. Bettye LaVette, an R&B voice filled with pain from childhood to an abusive marriage. Bettye LaVette, an emotionally powerful R&B singer, overcame immense suffering to make her mark in music. Growing up in Detroit, her family was consumed by alcohol, not just as a drink, but as a burden. Her parents worked at bars and often brought alcohol home. At the age of 6, young Bettye was forced to drink, coming into contact with stimulants early on a dangerous start to an already harsh childhood. Most heartbreakingly, at the age of 7 or 8, she was a familiar figure in the family utility. A wound that had been removed that forced her to be silent, withdrawn, and distrustful of adults. Her father, the pillar of the family, died suddenly when she was 16, leaving her in the role of pillar for her mother and siblings, carrying the burden of youth in Princes and Grief. Her marriage to Bill LaVette, which began at the age of 17, quickly became a nightmare. Bill's jealousy led not only to verbal abuse, but also to violence. In 1963, after a performance, a drunken Bill slapped her in front of friends. The slap shook everything. This violent, tumultuous marriage ended in divorce in the late 60s. Bettye raised their child alone, singing while facing the harsh realities of life, exhausted and disillusioned with love. Her career didn't fare any better after the hit Let Me Down Easy in 1965. Throughout the 70s and 80s, she disappeared from the recording scene, earning a living through low-paying club performances. In 1982, she nearly got evicted from her apartment in New York for being unable to pay rent. The image of a once promising singer having to borrow money for food pushed her into depression. One night in 1983, she sat alone crying, ready to give up. But luck came in the 2000s, bringing her back to the stage. However, those dark days left deep wounds in Bettye LaVette's soul. Chaka Khan, the queen of funk and legendary R&B star, once stood at the pinnacle of fame, but her life fell into a dark abyss. The 70s and 80s were a nightmare for Chaka. Behind the stage lights and massive hits, she spiraled into drugs and alcohol. Cocaine, heroin, and alcohol became her crutches to cope with the pressures of her career with Rufus and her solo path. In 1982, she woke up in a hotel in Los Angeles with no memory of the night before. Concerned friends gathered around, witnessing her self-destructive behavior. Her body collapsed, her voice disappeared, and her weight plummeted, nearly dying from a drug overdose in the mid-80s. The worst part was that her daughter Malini witnessed her mother drunk a shame that Chaka would carry forever. Her journey to sobriety began in 1989, a grueling path marked by relapses. But she eventually broke free, though the shadows of her past would never fully leave her. Her love life was no better. 3 marriages, all troubled. Her first marriage to Hassan Khan in 1970 lasted just a year, ending due to career pressures and constant conflict. Her second marriage to Richard Holland in 1976 gave her a son, Damien, but ended in arguments and jealousy. A major fight in 1979 at their home in Los Angeles marked the end of it all. As a single mother, she had to face the pain of broken relationships and the fear of commitment. The greatest tragedy struck in 2006 when her grandson, Damien Patrick Holland, was shot and killed in Chicago amid gang violence. That painful loss nearly destroyed her. She arranged the funeral, supported the family, but could not heal. Her relationship with her son Damien also faced difficulties. He was arrested for domestic violence in 2004, forcing her to bail him out. These losses led her to question her role in the family, living in constant shame, stepping away from the spotlight to rediscover herself. Stephanie Mills, the queen of R&B with violent marriages, struggles as a single mother and unyielding mental battles. Famous for her hit, I Feel Good All Over, Stephanie Mills ruled the R&B charts in the 80s, but her life was no fairy tale. In 1980, she married Jeffrey Daniel of Shalimar, expecting sweetness, but finding hell. Their busy schedules and Jeffrey's jealousy of her fame kept the tension at a boiling point. Physical violence wasn't rare. In 1981, Jeffrey slapped her at home after a heated argument. The slaps and constant shouting terrified her, leading to a divorce in 1983 after 3 unstable years. Her second marriage to Dino Minger from 1989 to 1991 was an emotional prison, controlling her until she nearly collapsed. That divorce left deep scars and an overwhelming loneliness. Being a single mother weighed heavily on her like a stone. Her firstborn son, Farad Mills, born in 1980, often had to be away from her during her tours. In 1985, Farad, just 5 years old, tearfully asked, "Mom, why aren't you home?" A question that tore her heart apart. She knew her career had stolen precious moments from her. In 2001, when her second son was diagnosed with Down syndrome, it brought new fears. But she fought through them with love, determined to overcome the challenges. The pressure of the industry never stopped. By the late 80s, her career stalled as younger artists emerged, leaving her feeling invisible. The burden of failed marriages and a declining career pushed her into a state of mild depression. On lonely nights in her New York apartment, she cried, questioning her self-worth. Therapy and faith gradually lifted her, but those years left her tired and cautious in life. Anita Baker, sweet love, the diva of R&B, with an abandoned childhood, turbulent marriages, and painful mental struggles. Anita Baker, the legendary R&B voice behind soul-stirring hits like Sweet Love, had to face a dark past. In 1960, when she was just 2 years old, Anita was abandoned by her biological mother, leaving her with her grandmother and a strict foster family that nearly crushed her fragile spirit. Losing her foster mother in 1974 was a huge shock, marking the beginning of a lonely, tumultuous path where she had to work as a waitress to survive. Despite her enchanting voice, her personal life was shrouded in darkness. In 1988, Anita married Walter Bridgeforth Jr., hoping to find peace, but instead she faced a stressful, contentious life fueled by Walter's blind jealousy of her fame. In 1995, a fierce argument after a tour left her crying uncontrollably, completely exhausted. Their nearly 20-year marriage ended in 2007, leaving her to raise 2 sons alone, surrounded by tears and loss. The pressure from the music industry was relentless. Legal battles with Elektra Records in the late 80s, sleepless nights, and crying alone in fear of her career collapsing nearly broke her. In 1994, she paused her career to save herself and her family. But the feelings of abandonment and misunderstanding remained. Therapy and faith were her only anchors, pulling her out of the depths of depression and anxiety. Jody Watley, the R&B star who shined bright but was weighed down by family tragedy and intense internal struggles. Jody Watley, the voice behind the chart-topping hit "Looking for a New Love," once stood at the pinnacle of R&B. However, few know that her journey was a battle filled with hardship against loneliness and the harsh pressures of the industry. Growing up in a pastor's family in Chicago, her life was far from peaceful. Her parents' constant arguments over money and lifestyle tore the family apart when she was just 10 years old. Her father's constant business trips and her struggling single mother forced Jody, the eldest daughter, to comfort her mother and siblings. Frequent moves from Chicago to Los Angeles created instability, isolation, and a closed heart, leaving deep emotional scars. As an adult, she hoped that her marriage to musician Andre Simone would bring joy, but it turned into a cycle of conflict. Starting in 1991, despite the birth of their daughter Lauren in 1987, jealousy and tension tore them apart. Their home became a battleground of shouting matches, leaving Jody crying in despair, feeling trapped. Their divorce in 1994 was a tearful ending, leaving her as a single mother struggling with both her career and family. After leaving Shalimar in 1983, Jody Watley's solo career faced a harsh music industry full of comparisons, disdain, racism, and sexism. By the late 90s, her albums failed, pushing her into a crisis of self-belief. Alone in her Los Angeles home, she cried, feeling abandoned by the industry. Meditation and therapy became her lifelines, but the fear of rejection and instability haunted her like a shadow. If you resonate with Jody's story and feel the strength in it, leave a number 2 below. And if you feel this story isn't for you, feel free to leave a number 5 to let us know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Regina Belle. From the pinnacle of R&B to a life-and-death battle with a brain tumor and heavy family tragedy. Regina Belle, the powerful voice behind A Whole New World, captured the hearts of millions worldwide. But behind the stage lights, she faced a painful struggle with a life-threatening brain tumor compounded by family losses and the burden of being a single mother amid life's storms. In 2009, Regina's world was turned upside down when doctors discovered a benign brain tumor on her meninges dangerously close to crucial nerves, making surgery a gamble with death. A year earlier, intense headaches and dizziness had tormented her. Fainting episodes at her home in Atlanta turned ordinary moments into terrifying experiences. After weeks in the hospital, unable to walk or speak, followed by a grueling year of physical therapy, she was forced to relearn everything, haunted by the fear that she might never sing again. The worry wasn't just for herself, but also for her husband and 5 children. As the illness ate away at each moment, family tragedies piled up. Her childhood was full of hardships, with her parents divorcing early and being raised by a single mother struggling with poverty and loneliness. In 2005, her mother, her biggest supporter and emotional rock, passed away from heart disease, leaving a huge void. Regina fell into depression, crying alone at night, overwhelmed by the irreplaceable loss. Her marriage to former NBA player John Battle, initially stable, faced severe challenges after her surgery. Regina became irritable, quick-tempered about family and financial matters. Raising 5 children while her body weakened left her exhausted, pushing her to the brink. The guilt of not being able to be there for her children enough haunted her every day, turning her life into an unending mental battle. Toni Braxton. From the pinnacle of R&B to 2 bankruptcies, illness, and a broken family. Toni Braxton, the legendary voice behind Unbreak My Heart, once dominated the R&B charts, but faced life-changing tragedies that would alter her life forever. It all began in July 1998, when Toni, the star behind Breathe Again, filed for bankruptcy, declaring a debt of $3.9 million. Who could have guessed that a beloved icon was trapped in an exploitative contract with Layface Records? Her income was not enough to cover the costs of touring, and her personal life fell apart. She cried during an interview, feeling humiliated as a star facing bankruptcy, nearly losing her home. The shocks kept coming. In October 2010, she filed for bankruptcy again, with debts ranging from $10 million to $50 million due to medical bills, taxes, and poor financial management. She sold her assets, lived simply, and battled severe depression for many years. She also had to fight systemic lupus erythematosus, an autoimmune disease that ravages the body. By the late 2000s, relentless joint pain, fatigue, and rashes attacked her. In 2008, she collapsed on stage in Las Vegas, sending shockwaves through her fans and herself, unsure if she would ever perform again. Steroids and frequent hospital stays became a daily reality. In December 2012, a severe lupus flare-up in Los Angeles nearly shattered her spirit. Her family life was full of turmoil. She married Carrie Lewis in 2001 and had 2 sons, Denim and Diesel. Financial stress, illness, and a demanding schedule drove them apart. Frequent arguments about money in Atlanta led to a separation in 2009 and a divorce in 2013, leaving Toni as a single mother struggling with failure. Tensions with her sisters on the show Braxton Family Values only added to the pressure, forcing her to endure daily struggles. Mary J. Blige, the queen of hip-hop soul, on a horrific childhood addiction and a tortured marriage. Mary J. Blige, The iconic voice behind countless hits has walked a path marked by scars. Her childhood was brutal. Her father left when she was 4, leaving her mother to raise 2 children in poverty as a single mother. On the crime-ridden streets of Yonkers, Mary was molested at age 7, a trauma that destroyed her self-confidence and fueled her emotional turmoil. In the 90s, while her career soared, she fell into drugs and alcohol. The addiction was a nightmare, hitting rock bottom when she woke up in a hotel unable to remember anything, with panicked friends nearby having nearly died from an overdose. She was teetering between life and death. In 2004, faith and support helped her go through rehab. It was a tough road with old ghosts still lingering. Her marriage to manager Kendu Isaacs became another nightmare. From being a pillar of support, he turned controlling, verbally abusive, and violent. The arguments, threats, and a divorce that lasted until 2018, with battles over custody and huge alimony, left her broken. Mary cried uncontrollably when recalling those years. Her life felt like a wall shattered into pieces, forcing her to rebuild from scratch. Erykah Badu. The R&B icon, drowned in a storm of love affairs and the pressure of single motherhood. Erykah Badu, the queen of R&B behind On and On, is a legend. But she had to face a chaotic life of romantic turmoil and heavy pressure. Her relationship in the mid-90s with Andre 3000 was a tiring conflict. They had a son, 7, in 1997, but the relationship ended in 1999 amid jealousy and busy schedules. The turbulent relationships that followed with the DOC and Jay Electronica brought conflicts, scandals, and rumors of infidelity, eroding her trust in love. Being a single mother during the peak of her career was brutally challenging. She cried when 7 asked why she was always away. Sleepless nights, financial stress, and worrying about her children weighed heavily on her for years. Her window seat video, which featured a nude scene at the site of JFK's assassination, led to fines and backlash, shaking both her image and spirit. The constant shocks pushed her into mild depression, and she had to rely on meditation to maintain balance in her chaotic life. Jill Scott, the R&B voice that hit rock bottom with marriage tragedy and a violent childhood. Jill Scott, the soulful star behind A Long Walk, faced heavy personal tragedies, broken marriages, a harsh childhood, and the constant pressure of being a single mother. Her 2001 marriage to Liesl Williams started brightly but crumbled under the weight of her flourishing career. By 2006, arguments over tour schedules and family responsibilities turned them into enemies. Her 2007 divorce left deep wounds, shaking her belief in love. Her second marriage lasted only 15 months, ending in a public drama when Mike Dobson demanded assets, leaving her exhausted and broken. Growing up in North Philadelphia, her childhood was harsh, witnessing violence, the absence of her father, and loneliness. She became disillusioned with the world after her first divorce. Being a single mother was incredibly tough, crying in despair when her young son pleaded with her. The pressure and depression were overwhelming, forcing her to seek therapy to rise from the ashes of her life. Faith Evans, a chaotic life from domestic violence to legal scandals. Faith Evans, the R&B queen behind I'll Be Missing You, endured a series of personal tragedies. Her 1994 marriage to the notorious B.I.G., just 8 days after meeting, was not a fairy tale, but a storm of arguments, jealousy, and violence. In 1995, a brutal argument led Biggie to slap her, forcing her to run in fear. Their son was born in 1996, but Biggie's murder in 1997 left her in despair, battling depression, and forced her into single motherhood under immense pressure. Her childhood was full of struggles her father left, and she was raised by a mother who was struggling herself, losing the only emotional support she had. In 2004, another shock came. She and her husband were arrested for drug possession, a blow to her reputation and spirit. Facing the challenge of rehab and public judgment, Faith fought to save herself and her career, never quite finding peace. Syleena Johnson. A life of turmoil from a chaotic childhood to weight struggles and a broken marriage. Syleena Johnson, the R&B voice behind Guess What, has walked a path filled with hardship. Her childhood was marked by upheaval. Her father, the legendary Syl Johnson, was often absent, leaving her mother to struggle alone. Her parents' constant arguments over money and jealousy left young Syleena terrified, hiding in her room as her world seemed to fall apart. Her divorce in the late 80s was a heavy blow, leaving her feeling lonely and fatherless, shaping her future relationships. Her marriage to basketball player Kiwana Garris seemed brighter, but the pressures of career and motherhood tore it apart. Arguments about money time for the kids and feelings of abandonment sparked many nights of crying. It ended in 2013, and along with it, Syleena had to battle weight gain due to stress, reaching over 200 pounds, about 90 kilograms. A difficult gastric bypass surgery and nights of crying in fear of judgment marked her transformation. Her life remains a constant battle, each step a fierce fight, but she never gives up. Brandy Norwood, the R&B star, haunted by a fatal accident, broken relationships and mental darkness. Brandy, the radiant voice behind The Boy Is Mine, conquered music but faced a tumultuous path. On December 30, 2006, disaster struck when Brandy was driving on the 405 freeway in Los Angeles and caused a multi-car accident that tragically took the life of a woman. The overwhelming sense of guilt consumed her, plunging her into deep depression. She isolated herself, crying every night, too scared to drive. Lawsuits and public pressure weighed heavily on her. That was just the beginning. Her relationship with producer Robert Big Bert Smith ended while she was pregnant with her daughter Syrai, leaving her to navigate single motherhood amidst chaos. While touring without her daughter, Brandy cried from loneliness and guilt. Her engagement to Quentin Richardson also fell apart amidst doubts. The car accident, the failure of her album, Human, and a controversial reality TV show took a heavy toll on her spirit, trapping her in fear, disappointment, and utter loneliness. Mia, the R&B sensation behind Lady Marmalade, shone brightly, but she had to fight continuous mental battles and relentless pressure. Her childhood was turbulent. Constant arguments about money between her parents led to their divorce as she grew up. Living with her mother in a dangerous neighborhood and witnessing nearby brawls, she became withdrawn, carrying loneliness into adulthood, which hindered her relationships. In the early 2000s, high-profile relationships brought pain and rumors deeply hurting her. The pressure from the media and society, being a single woman in her 30s, led her to cry alone, doubting her self-worth. Her career stalled when the release of her album, Liberation, was delayed, leading to anxiety and the feeling of being abandoned by the industry. She faced racism, sexism, and financial struggles, having to struggle to make a living through small performances, fighting every day to maintain her position. Monica, the R&B goddess behind Angel of Mine, reached great heights, but her journey has been fraught with struggles. The most heartbreaking moment of her life occurred on July 18, 2000. Sitting in a car near a cemetery with her boyfriend Jarvis Weems, he suddenly shot himself in the head. Monica, horrified, helplessly held him as he passed away in her arms. That image haunted her, plunging her into deep depression. Monica's childhood was chaotic. Her parents divorced when she was just 4 years old, and she grew up in a violent neighborhood, leaving her soul in a constant state of tension. Later, her fairy tale marriage to NBA player Shannon Brown crumbled under the pressures of work and rumors of infidelity, ending in a painful divorce in 2019. She was left to raise 3 children on her own. Monica fights daily to escape the deep shadows of her past and the overwhelming pressures of the present. Mary, the R&B star behind the hit One Thing, had a career that soared, but her personal life has been full of struggles and challenges. Her childhood was a turbulent journey, constantly moving from Alaska to Texas, Germany, and Virginia due to her father's military career. In 1989, at the age of 9, returning to the U.S. was a shock, and she was bullied. Mary questioned her place in a multicultural world, and the arguments between her parents shattered her self-confidence, leaving emotional scars that would stay with her as she navigated both life and love. After the huge success of One Thing in 2005, everything seemed to spiral into chaos for Mary. The delay of her next album made her feel abandoned by the music industry, leading to anxiety and isolation. She faced racial discrimination and pressure to change her image, while relationships brought only rumors and pain. Despite marrying in 2011, the pressure to have children quickly pushed her into a private crisis. She often cried alone, trying to find peace in a world filled with chaos, both publicly and privately. Ashanti, the R&B queen of Foolish, conquered the music world but struggled with emotional storms, public pressure, and family rifts. Her on-and-off relationship with rapper Nelly, which began in 2003, was a roller coaster story of love and heartbreak. In 2008, constant phone arguments about schedules and cheating rumors left her emotionally drained. By 2012, rumors of Nelly's new romantic interest ignited feelings of betrayal, leading to the end of their relationship in 2014 and shattering her faith in love. Her career faded after Foolish, with subsequent albums stalled, leaving her anxious, crying alone and feeling betrayed by the industry. Family life wasn't easy either. Childhood arguments between her parents and conflicts with her mother, who also managed her, added to her stress. Yoga and the support of her family helped her stay grounded amid the chaos. Kelly Rowland, the shining voice of Destiny's Child in Dilemma, rose to stardom but lived in chaos. Growing up in Atlanta, young Kelly witnessed her alcoholic father violently abuse her mother. In 1988, at the age of 7, a horrific argument between her parents forced her to hide, filled with fear. In 1989, her mother left her father, and the challenges of single motherhood left deep scars on Kelly. In 2004, her relationship with football player Roy Williams collapsed. After a quick engagement, she canceled the wedding 2 months prior, crying uncontrollably in her Houston home. Balancing motherhood and her career became increasingly difficult. Constant comparisons with Beyoncé pushed her into mild depression, leading her to isolate herself, crying for hours, feeling like she was always second best. Harsh judgments as a black woman in the entertainment industry pushed her to the brink with meditation and therapy, becoming her lifelines in a world full of challenges. LaToya Luckett, the founding member of Destiny's Child and the voice behind Toe, was once the group's hope, but was forced to face a harsh reality. In 1999, she was coldly kicked out of Destiny's Child, discovering it through the video for Say My Name. The shock stripped away her friends' money and self-worth, leaving her crying and battling depression in Houston for many years. Her love life didn't fare much better. Her first marriage lasted only 2 months, filled with constant arguments and disappointment, leaving lingering scars. Her second marriage ended in a highly publicized divorce in 2021 amidst infidelity scandals and custody battles. Growing up in a violent neighborhood in Houston, witnessing fights at a young age, LaToya fought every day to stay strong. The pressure of fame at just 15 and being kicked out of the group fueled anxiety and depression. Therapy became the painful yet necessary path for her to rediscover herself in the harsh world of music. Keyshia Cole, the R&B star behind Let It Go, rose from the deep wounds of Oakland into a career and life full of turmoil. Her childhood was filled with hardship, a mother struggling with addiction, an absent father, and being adopted at the age of 2. The violent neighborhood she grew up in echoed with gunshots and bloody brawls haunting her since the age of 8. Her mother's repeated drug arrests left her feeling abandoned and deeply wounded. Her marriage to NBA player Daniel Gibson, with whom she had a son, faced turbulence. Rumors of infidelity and the pressures of her career ignited fiery arguments, ultimately leading to a painful divorce in 2017, marked by intense child custody battles. The death of her mother from a drug overdose in 2021 on Keyshia's birthday shattered her. Public family disputes spiraled, plunging her into depression and sleepless nights of crying. These emotional scars sparked a journey of healing filled with tears. Carrie Hilson, the R&B star behind Knock You Down, shone brightly but faced intense mental battles and a chaotic personal life. Her debut album in 2009 soared, but the failure of her second album in 2010 sparked a brutal crisis. In 2011, she locked herself away, crying every night, overwhelmed by failure and industry pressure. Comparisons to Beyoncé and Ciara deepened her pain with public drama, branding her as jealous, sparking boycotts. Her feud with Ciara was tense, with the two often avoiding each other at events. Her relationship with NBA player Serge Ibaka was turbulent, marked by phone arguments and cycles of breaking up and reconciling. Media rumors intensified her pain and mistrust. Therapy helped her battle the fear of fading away, rebuilding herself amid the stormy waves of life. K. Michelle, the R&B singer behind Can't Raise a Man, has lived a life full of turmoil. In the early 2000s, she endured horrific violence from a man in the music industry. In 2008, at a hotel in Atlanta, she was brutally beaten, dragged across the floor, bruised and terrified before managing to escape. The trauma from that incident lingered deeply within her. In 2015, another relationship brought emotional abuse, leaving her crying in silence. Her trust in men shattered, leaving her to battle inner scars and emotional turmoil. Her 2014 silicone butt injection surgery turned into a disaster by 2017, with painful swelling hospitalization and 4 grueling surgeries to remove the implants, nearly causing her to die from blood loss. Family conflicts dealt another heavy blow. Her mother and siblings became estranged, severing ties for many years. The hospitalization of her father drained her emotionally and physically, forcing her to juggle single motherhood while enduring relentless pain. Fantasia Barrino. The R&B sensation behind I Believe soared to fame after her American Idol win, but her journey has been marked by heartbreaking struggles. Her childhood in North Carolina was turbulent, filled with poverty and constant arguments between her parents about money. At 14 in 1998, Fantasia was attacked by a classmate, a silent trauma that destroyed her self-confidence and forced her to drop out of school. After her victory in 2004, she faced a near collapse in 2008 when she was burdened with hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax debt. Desperate for loans, humiliated and overwhelmed by the pressures of single motherhood and life's hardships, she struggled to stay afloat. A scandalous affair with Antoine Cook, a married man, in 2010 led to lawsuits and media attacks. On August 9, 2010, she attempted suicide by overdose, but thankfully she was saved. Though she married in 2015 and continued her career, the darkness of her past never fully faded. Tamia, the R&B star behind So Into You, captivated fans with her voice, but faced life-or-death battles with illness and family tragedies. In 2003, at 28, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a devastating disease attacking her nerves. Fatigue, numbness, and falls at home tormented her for an extended period. One collapse before a performance forced her to face the harsh reality. Living in fear of her condition worsening, she fought through the pain while raising 2 daughters alone. The pressure strained her marriage with NBA star Grant Hill, with arguments about her health and career leaving her crying alone. Her difficult childhood in Canada, witnessing violence and losing her grandmother, her emotional support almost broke her. Yet Tamia remained resilient, fighting for her family and career. Melissa Morgan, the R&B star behind Do Me Baby, amazed with her distinctive voice, but shocked many with a life full of crises and loss. Born in Queens, she witnessed her family fall apart. In 1974, at the age of 10, her parents divorced after intense financial arguments. She grew up in anxiety and poverty, exposed to violence outside her home, and became emotionally closed off. After her success in 1986, her career spiraled downward in the early 90s without a recording contract. She sang at small venues to survive. By 1992, she was nearly evicted, bankrupt, and humiliated, descending from stardom to the depths of depression. She cried heartbroken. Her relationship in the late 80s fell apart, and by 2010, in her middle years, childless and single, she fought against loneliness and societal pressure. Perry Pebbles Reed, the painful fall of an R&B queen through marriage lawsuits and her son's betrayal. Pebbles, the powerhouse behind the hit Mercedes Boy, once ruled the R&B charts and founded the management company behind TLC. But behind the spotlight was an unimaginable tragedy. In 1982, her first marriage to a businessman became suffocating. In 1983, a heated argument ended with him slapping her, leaving her stunned soon after they divorced. In 1989, she married music mogul L.A. Reid, hoping for happiness, but found more pain. Constant arguments, pressure, and betrayal led to their divorce in 1996, leaving her a single mother in isolation. In 1995, TLC sued her over unfair compensation, triggering a media firestorm and public outrage that shattered her reputation. Though she countersued, the damage was done. She eventually vanished from the entertainment world. In 2013, a public attack by her own son on television was the final devastating blow. Depressed and lost, Pebbles turned to faith as her last refuge from total collapse. From a radiant smile to tears over money, family, and depression, Shanice, the R&B singer who stole hearts with "I Love Your Smile," was once a musical phenomenon. But behind that bright smile was bitter pain. After reaching her peak in 1991, her career began to decline. By 2002, she was nearly bankrupt, hiding to avoid eviction, too scared to even open the door. As a mother of two, she performed at small venues just to earn enough to buy milk. Life became suffocating, forcing her to send her children to stay with relatives helpless as they cried for her. In 2005, her husband lost his job, adding to the weight on Shanice's shoulders. By 2007, she was locking herself away, crying for hours, questioning her worth in the entertainment world. She faced pressure to change, endured discrimination, and battled unrealistic expectations. In 2010, she suffered a mental breakdown. Insomnia, anxiety, and a haunting fear of failure took over her life. Her husband, therapy, and faith became the thin lifelines holding her together in a world that had turned uncertain and unforgiving. The world of entertainment changes every day, and no one can stay at the peak of fame or beauty forever. But even when they're no longer shining as brightly as before, their stories still deserve a place in R&B history. Do you have any idols on this list, or were you surprised by how they look? Now share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about the journey of these music goddesses. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of the fascinating behind-the-scenes stories coming your way.